Hi, this is Odeean. Today I've got something that I wanted to get in hand for ages, but I just couldn't ship it up until now. So this is Neca's Godzilla 2014. They're calling it 24 inch. It's really like 12 inches tall, I think, but maybe the nose to tail is 24 inch. This thing it's like super heavy, much heavier than what I had thought it was going to be. And that's probably why I had to pay virtually double for this when I included in the shipping. Anyway, let's get it open and have a look. Twist ties everywhere. I thought this was history. Twist ties, annoyingly tight metal twist ties everywhere. Did you just buy a Neca 24-inch head to tail Godzilla 2014 and then break it? Are you filled with rage at how stupid it is to put this circuit board butt up against this little knob that the tail pushes on? Once you get your 24-inch Neca Godzilla out of the box, this is what you're presented with. Or more specifically, this part is what you're presented with. Now, this has been a massive, massive problem. This ball joint is a double ball joint, the other end of which is supposed to be anchored into a big solid block that securely fits into a cavity on the other side of this plastic. In theory, that won't move out of there. In practice, this is a piece of rubbish. The amount of force that's required to plug this on cannot help but to dislodge that anchoring point and break it out of its housing. And in mine, the result is that it has smashed the electronics in half. Now, I didn't enter into this naively. I watched a lot of video reviews and I heard a lot of people talking about that being an issue. I did my very best to prevent that from happening, but, you know, short of pulling the whole thing apart before pegging the tail on, there is no way to prevent that from happening. If you're unlucky enough to have one that doesn't quite fit properly, then you're screwed. Once you do get the tail pegged on like that, it is not on securely by any means. I mean, you're going to see that was pegged on as much as it will go, and that's the result. So Neca, fucking hell Neca, what is wrong with you? How can you make a toy that looks so good as this, but just is so incapable of staying in one piece as a toy would? I mean, it just, I don't understand how you could produce this and think that it's going to float. It won't. A lot of people are going to complain, and you know, it's very disappointing, very disappointing. Having said all of that, I don't hate this figure, and the reason I don't hate the figure is that I've looked long and hard at all the Godzilla 2014 toys that are out there, and this is the only one that I feel captures the sculpt in any way that strongly resembles what I saw on screen in the movie. So that is really weird, because I would have thought the SH Monster Arts was the one that was going to do it for me, but no, I've looked at a lot of pictures of that and I cancelled my SH Monster Arts. He just didn't look like Godzilla 2014. I felt that his wrists were too narrow. Like, if you look at this guy, he's got quite thick wrists there. On the SH Monster Arts, I felt that the shape in this part of the face was too narrow, not blunt enough. In the movie, Godzilla is really stubby in the nose. So if I'm going to pay top dollar for a representation, I want that look to be exactly replicated. I mean, I don't need another Godzilla that looks like an ordinary Godzilla. I've got plenty of them. If I'm going to buy a 2014, I want 2014, not some conglomeration like what I feel the SH Monster Arts is. This Neca also has almost the right feet, but again, these are just a little bit not right. From what I remember in the movie, I've got the DVD, they were more like elephant toes and less like claws. But as bad as I want these to be a little bit different, the SH Monster Arts just looks even more different to the extreme. So again, in this particular case, I feel like the Neca has beaten that out. Even with the QC issue, I've still decided to keep this as my Godzilla 2014 representation. With the tail, if you can forgive the terrible joint there, it is reasonably well articulated. I mean, it's very segmented, just like a Monster Arts would be. So they've taken a leaf from that book and they've done that part really well. Like all these parts here, these function just fine. It's the main connecting point, which is the main issue. I'm very tempted to just fill this full of glue and avoid the problem altogether. The spines on the back, they are a bit bendy, so that's not a bad thing. It stops them from snapping, but some of them are a little bit curved in their angles, like up here on the back in particular. A bit of heating and fussing around with it will get them to be straight. I would have felt like these should have a little bit of paint on it, but after watching the movie, I don't think that they are really that coloured in the movie. I do have some pause at the use of shininess, for want of a better word. I like my Godzillas to be matte and textured, and that's mainly because I feel that having a lot of matteness, it gives a kind of scale to the figure. When you have so much gloss, there goes the tail again. When you have so much gloss as what this guy's got, it really takes away from the scale and makes it look like a toy. I don't know why we couldn't have got less gloss. The head definitely has plenty of articulation, as much as you would ever need. I like the head quite a bit. It's got a pretty good jaw happening there. The eyes on mine, look at that. They're pretty much looking in the same direction. Bit of a minor seam line there, but it's very minor in comparison to the size of the toy. He can even look up and back like that. That's pretty cool. I showed you that the arms can rotate up like that. We've got kind of ball joints going on here. The knees, pretty good knee joint, except it's a little bit floppy. And this kind of weird hip gives you some weird cuts there. Not too great, but I don't imagine this Godzilla is ever going to be doing kung fu moves. So for his kind of lumbering posture, I think the hips are just fine. It would have been nice to get some kind of beam effect, I guess, but you know, Neca are not known for their effect parts. For scale, here's my X Plus Godzilla 1992. They're pretty much exactly the same height. I think that if they were really in scale, this guy is probably supposed to be bigger. And you can see what I mean. This guy's very matte. This guy's very toy-like. And one thing I didn't mention, this has a patina on the... Patina is not the right word. That's something that would be on copper. It has like some kind of algae growing on him. Like he's been in the ocean for so long, he's got all this growth coming on him, which I can go with the idea of it, but again, I would have liked that growth to have been matte and not shiny. To see how big this Godzilla really is, let's get the ruler, pop that down there. So he comes to about 12.5 to 13 inches tall. Well, actually, if I look at it dead on, let's put it exactly there. About 12.5 inches tall. So he's a good sized Godzilla figure, much bigger than 6-inch Monster Arts. I always like to show Marshmallow Man in comparison to various Godzillas. So there's 11-inch Marshmallow Man next to 2014 Godzilla. My final thoughts. This figure had a lot of potential. I really anticipated it, and if you never play with it, it still looks good. But Neca really dropped the ball with how terribly this thing breaks in half. There's supposed to be electronics. My electronics are smashed and broken in half and won't make a noise. It's very heavy, so if you want to ship it, it's going to cost a fortune to ship from one country to another. It cost me about $50 to ship this from the US to Australia, and there's nowhere locally, at least that I know of, to buy it. So it makes returning it when it's damaged prohibitively expensive. Now the good thing I'll say about that is that I bought this from BBTS, and as usual their customer service is the best that I've come across anywhere. And I mean, I don't think I can say exactly what they did for me because it says not to in the email, but they fixed me up. So I'm not having a problem with this figure, but you know, it shouldn't come to that. Neca should just do a better job, and I haven't had a lot of experience with bad Neca product. Most of what I've been buying from them, I've been pretty happy with. This is my first pretty bad experience. But anyway, what I suggest is that if you buy this figure, get a screwdriver, pull it apart, put the ball joint together, and then screw it back together. It's pretty hard to do, but it's better than having a broken figure. So if you're prepared to do that, definitely I can recommend it. That's been my video review for Neca's 24-inch head-to-tail really 12-inch tall action figure of Godzilla 2014. I'm Odeean. Thank you for watching.